Okay, sorry folks, we had some audio issues. Again, my name is Marvin Judd. I'm from the EUTF Outreach and Training Department. Thank you for joining us today. Today we'll do a pre-retirement informational session for you folks. So there's a lot of information. Try not to be overwhelmed. We do have this same presentation on our website if you guys ever need to, review it or whatnot. And then we'll take some questions at the end of this presentation. You folks will have a lot of questions. We'll be going over a lot of things. So I'll try to address all that information at the end of the presentation. But without further ado, folks, let's start the show. Okay, folks. So again, this presentation, you guys can get it on our website. We'll post a link afterwards to download the PDF versions, or there's even a voiceover if you folks want to listen to this wonderful presentation all over again. But let's go ahead and get started here. Okay, so you just have to go onto the Learning Center tab. Right there's a screenshot of what it looks like. So you just go onto our website, eutf.hawaii.gov, click on the Learning Center tab, and then right there is the pre-retirement informational session. So you can download the slides or you can play the voiceover video again. So on the agenda for today, we'll be talking about a lot of important information. Two of the most important things that I want you guys to focus on is Medicare and premiums and contributions. Okay, so if you fall asleep, make sure you wake up for those two. Okay, new retiree enrollment. Okay, so new retiree enrollment. So for you folks trying to figure out, when to retire, what should I do? You always want to talk to the ERS first, okay, the Employee Retirement System. Okay, those are the folks that have all your information from your sick leave to your vacation to your years of service, all that good stuff. It goes to their department first. Okay, so you always have to talk to them before you can really apply for your retirement health benefits. Okay, so you want to talk to the ERS first. They'll furnish you this letter. It's called a retirement estimate letter. Okay, on this retirement estimate letter, it will have your earned years of service according to ERS and your membership start date. Okay, so your membership start date varies. Okay, not everyone's is what they think it is in their mind. Okay, sometimes your membership start date is a different date from when you actually got hired with the state or county. Okay, so all that information, it comes from ERS. So make sure you talk to them first before you apply for your health benefits. So we'll come back to this letter a little bit later on in the presentation. Okay, so eligibility, who can be covered? So of course, a retired employee. One of the questions that we get asked all the time, do you need to be covered under an active EUTF plan at the time of retirement to qualify for your retirement plan? Okay, so the answer to that is no. Okay, you don't ever have to be on the active plan. Let's say you have a spouse. Okay, your spouse doesn't have to come onto your active plan right before you retire for them to qualify. Okay, just you retiring qualifies you for that retirement health benefits. Okay, so a lot of people think, that last year of service, I gotta pick up my EUTF active coverage. Okay, no, that's not the case. Just you retiring, that's when you actually can sign up for your benefits or not. Okay, there's no prereqs where you have to be on it beforehand. Another thing that I want to go over, let's say you retire. Okay, if you retire and return to work, okay, I don't know why you would. Okay, when I retire, hopefully I just stay retired. But we have a lot of folks, especially in the DOE, right? They retire and they come back to work. Okay, they miss the kids, they want to teach again, or whatnot. Okay, so if you return to work for the state or county, you must notify EUTF. Okay, so that is a #1 rule. If you ever retire, you have to contact EUTF if you come back to work for the state or county. Okay, let's say you go back to work, but it's not DOE capacity, maybe it's a county job. Okay, maybe you're an elected official or something like that. You still would have to contact EUTF. Okay, there's a lot of moving parts there. We have to disenroll you from this coverage, re-enroll you into another coverage. So anytime you retire but come back to work, you have to notify EUTF. Okay, so it has to be back to work at full-time capacity, okay, or more than an 89-day hire. Okay. Other than that, you don't have to contact us if you become a Walmart greeter, right? You don't have to tell us, hey, ETF, I'm a Walmart greeter. Okay, you don't have to let us know about that. Just if you come back to work for the state or county at full-time capacity. Okay, so you can't be an 89-day hire, you can't be part-time, it would have to be full-time. Okay, so number one rule, if you retire and return to work, what do you have to do? Well, first, you probably have to see your psychologist, right? Why are you coming back to work? Other than that, you would have to notify EUTF about your medical benefits. Okay, so let's move on. Who else is eligible for your benefits? Of course, a spouse or partner. Okay, so partners can be either civil or domestic union. You would have to fill out the proper paperwork with our office, but they can also be covered under your retiree health benefits also. Okay, that's a huge benefit you get. Children, by birth, adoption, legal guardianship, or foster children. Children can be covered up until the age of 19 for medical, prescription drug, dental, and vision plans. Covered until the age of 24 if unmarried and a full-time student. Okay, so it's a little bit different than the active plan. Okay, the active plan, you can actually cover dependent children, excuse me, all the way up to age 26. Okay, for the retiree plan, it's a little bit different. It's only up until age 19, but if they're unmarried and a full-time student, it can extend up until age 24. Okay, but it's not 26 like the active EUTF plan. Okay, and that's because of the Affordable Care Act. It only applies to medical plans that are for your employer. Okay, when you retire, the Affordable Care Act doesn't apply. So we just left it as is. So it's always been 19 or 24. Okay, and the coverage can be continued for unmarried child incapable of self-support due to mental or physical incapacities that existed prior to age 19. Okay, so if they have some type of ailment, they can actually stay on your coverage past the age of 24. Okay, the doctor will have to fill out a form. You would have to fill out a form. So all that can be found on our website if you guys need more information on that. Okay, so what happens to your health benefits if you pass away? Okay, that's another great question that we get asked all the time. Well, if you pass away, a surviving spouse, domestic or civil union partner of a deceased retiree can continue those benefits. Okay, so if you pass away, your spouse or your partner at that time can actually continue that same health benefits until they pass away. Okay, provided one thing, provided your spouse or partner does not remarry or enter into another domestic or civil union partnership. Okay, so I'll let you guys, if you guys want to relay that information to your other half, you definitely can, but there is one stipulation, right? They cannot remarry. If they do, they'll lose that. We call it survivor benefit. They'll lose that survivor benefit and they won't be able to continue that health benefit anymore. Other than that, they can continue it. And also, unmarried child of a deceased retired employee, provided the child is under the age of 19 or 24 if they're a full-time student. Okay, so basically, if you pass before your loved ones, they're taken care of. They usually can continue those benefits as long as they don't remarry, right? So that's a little bit about eligibility. And just one quick side note, dual coverage isn't allowed within the state or county. So basically, you can't have a retiree plan and an active plan from your spouse that works city and county. Okay, that's kind of like dual coverage. Okay, you can't have that within the state or county, but if your spouse, let's say, works for HMSA or Kaiser, maybe you guys have cheaper insurance through them, then you guys can have dual coverage. Okay, just within a state and county, you cannot have dual coverage. Okay, Medicare. So this is the important one. Okay, so why is Medicare so important? It's that top line right there. There's a mandatory Medicare enrollment. Okay, so it's written into our statutes that you have to enroll into Medicare if you're retired and if you have the retiree medical and prescription drug plan. Okay, so let's go through this slide. Retirees that are eligible for Medicare Part B must enroll into Medicare Part B when they become eligible in order to be enrolled into the EUTF medical and or prescription drug plan. Okay, so let's back up a little bit. What is Medicare? Okay, so Medicare is the federal government's health insurance plan, usually for folks that are 65 and over. Some folks can become eligible before their 65th birthday. It depends on their health, okay? But for the most part, it's when you turn 65, that's when you become eligible for Medicare, okay? Medicare is broken up into 4 parts. Part A, it's like hospitalization, all that good stuff. Part B is this requirement, and that's basically everything else, okay? Doctor visits, durable medical equipment, surgeries, right? That all falls under Medicare Part B. And then there's Medicare Part C, which is like Advantage plans. You don't have to really worry about that. And then there's Medicare Part D, which is a prescription drug plan that goes along with the medical. Okay, so when you become eligible, you have to enroll into Medicare Part B, and that's when you turn 65. Okay, covered dependents that are eligible for Medicare Part B must also enroll into Medicare Part B when they become eligible, regardless of whether they are retired or actively employed, if they're under your retiree medical and or prescription drug plan. Okay, so let's say you retire, you're 65, your spouse is 65, you put both of yourselves on your retiree plan, okay? But your spouse is still working, okay? Even though your spouse is still working, your spouse will have to enroll into Medicare Part B because it's a requirement if you want to continue them on your retiree plan, okay? So that's why it's so important. You must provide EUTF with proof of your Medicare Part B enrollment within 60 days of becoming eligible or enrolling into the EUTF retiree medical and or prescription drug plan. Okay, so you must submit a copy of you and your dependent's Medicare Part B card. Okay, so it's that red, white, and blue card. You guys probably are familiar with what it looks like. Okay, it has Medicare Part A and Part B on it. Let's go over a couple scenarios. Okay, so let's say you retire when you're 63, okay? Does this mandatory Medicare enrollment come into play yet? No, right? You're 63, you're not eligible yet, okay? So you don't have to really worry about Medicare yet. 64 comes around, 65, that's when you have to contact Social Security, enroll into Medicare Part B, and then send EUTF proof of that for us to continue your retiree medical and prescription drug plan. Okay, so that's one scenario. Let's say, same scenario, you retire when you're 63, okay, you don't have to worry about Medicare Part B, but let's say your spouse is 66 when you retire and you want to add them to your plan, okay? So you don't have to because you're not eligible yet, you're only 63, but your spouse that is 66 and that's enrolled into your retiree plan, they have to enroll into Medicare, okay? So they would have to enroll into Medicare. You would have to send us proof of their Medicare enrollment, which is that copy of the Medicare Part B card. Okay, so basically whoever's retired and whoever's eligible for Medicare has to enroll into Medicare, and you have to show EUTF proof of that. Okay, so if you take anything away from today, it's to enroll into Medicare when you become eligible. Okay, so how do you enroll into Medicare? You do it through Social Security. Okay, we prefer that you start the enrollment process 3 months before your 65th birthday. Okay, so it gives you plenty of time just in case there's errors, you lost something in the mail, something didn't get sent back in time. You have this huge buffer, right? So 3 months before your 65th birthday, that's what we recommend. Sometimes you can do it earlier. You could usually do it within 2 to 1 month, but we just prefer you to start at 3 months. If you're already retired with EUTF, okay, like my example, if you're 63, okay, we will send you a courtesy reminder to remind you to enroll into Medicare Part B. Okay, so as long as you check your mail, you'll get this reminder to enroll into Medicare Part B. Okay, right there in red, failure to provide proof of Medicare Part B enrollment will result in you and your dependents disenrollment from the EUTF medical and or prescription drug plan. Okay, so that's very important. Okay, so let's go over a scenario. Let's go back to my scenario. So let's say you retire when you're 63. Okay, you don't have to worry about Medicare yet. Okay, so you forget all about it. 64 comes around, 65 comes around. Okay, let's say you don't have any friends and you don't check your mail. Okay, so you forget all about Medicare. You don't get any of our correspondence to help remind you to enroll into Medicare. Okay, a few months later, you go to the doctor. Okay, you show them your HMSA card, your card. They tell you, I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, you do not have medical coverage. Okay, you need to contact your administrator. Okay, so you contact us, we let you know that you didn't enroll into Medicare and you didn't send EUTF proof, so we had to cancel your retiree medical and drug plan. Okay, so that's a huge deal, right? You don't want to be without coverage. So we let you know that, hey, you need to contact Social Security and enroll into Medicare and send us proof. Okay, so you get off the phone with us, now you have to contact Social Security. Okay, they're not the easiest people to get a hold of. Okay, especially right now during this pandemic, right? You can't just go down to the federal building. Okay, everything's done via phone or online. Okay, so you wait on hold, you finally get somebody, they let you know that, hi, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, you missed your enrollment period. Okay, so Social Security has certain enrollment periods of when you can actually enroll into Medicare. Okay, if you miss your initial enrollment period, you'll have to wait till the next open enrollment period. Okay, so that's probably months down the line. So now you have to wait months without medical coverage. Okay, you finally enroll during open enrollment. That doesn't become effective until months later. That's how open enrollment works, right? You finally get a copy of your card, you send it into EUTF. That's when we can re-enroll you into your retiree medical and prescription drug plan. Okay, so you could go on, what, 8 months without medical coverage if you don't turn in that Medicare Part B card timely. Okay, so that's why it's very important to kind of understand how Medicare affects your retiree medical and prescription drug plan. Okay, so you don't want to fall into that scenario where you miss your initial enrollment period, then you got to wait for open enrollment. It can be pretty cumbersome. Okay, so just remember to enroll into Medicare when you become eligible. Okay, so to make things even more wonderful, Medicare Part B comes with a premium. Okay, the federal government charges you a premium to be enrolled into their medical plan. Okay, so what do all these numbers mean? Medicare premiums goes based off your income. Okay, what they do is this 2-year look back. Okay, they look at your taxes from 2 years ago, depending on how much you make, is how much they're going to charge you for Medicare Part B. Okay, so if you made less than $87,000 in 2018, they're going to charge you $144 to be enrolled into Medicare Part B. Okay, that number is what we call Medicare Standard. Okay, it's the lowest amount that you can pay for Medicare. So we call that the Medicare Standard Premium. Okay, but if you made above that, okay, if you made $87,000 or more, you have to pay a different premium. Okay, and it's broken up into different tax brackets here. Okay, so some of you might be wondering, yeah, right, I'm never going to make more than $87,000 or $100,000 a year. Okay, what happens if you sell your house, right? That could be income on your taxes when you file it, depending on how much you sell it for and how much you owe, right? So let's say you sold your house, you live in Lanikai, down by the beach, okay? So above $500,000, okay? If you made that in 2018, your Medicare Part B premium is $491 a month, okay? So the good news is the EUTF reimburses you that premium. Okay, we reimburse that premium that Medicare charges you. Okay, the question is, Do you think EUTF is going to reimburse you this $491 amount? What do you guys think? Yes. Okay. EUTF will reimburse you whatever they charge you for Medicare Part B, as long as there's no penalties involved. Okay. The only way you get a penalty is if you enroll into Medicare late. Okay. You get this late fee. But other than that, EUTF will reimburse you whatever they charge you for Medicare Part B. Okay. For most of our retirees, about 90% of them, they pay the standard amount. Okay. So 144, we just automatically reimburse them that. But for the other 10% or 9%, they pay above that standard amount. Okay, we don't have access to your taxes like the IRS does. Okay, so we rely on the retiree to send us this document right here. Okay, you'll have to send us this document from Social Security so that we can reimburse you the correct amount. Okay, without this document, we cannot reimburse you that higher above standard amount for Medicare Part B. Okay, so it's called a IRMA letter, Income Related Monthly Adjustment Amount Letter. So it comes directly from Social Security. They send it to you every year, right? Because your income could change every year, but they'll send you this letter every year letting you know how much you're going to be paying for Medicare Part B the following year. Okay, so right now, our retirees are getting this letter in the mail from Social Security. So most of our retirees, they don't have to send us this letter because they pay the standard. But for that 9–10% that pay above the standard, they actually have to send us this letter so that we can reimburse them that correct amount. Okay, so just keep that in mind. If you sell a house or if you're making plenty of money, you have to send us this letter every year. Okay, we also need a direct deposit reimbursement form. You get direct deposited quarterly. So every 3 months, whatever your Medicare Part B premium is, as long as there's no penalties, we'll reimburse you that directly into your bank account. Okay, so you have to fill out this direct deposit agreement form. Okay, so it'll either start the effective date of Medicare coverage or the first day of the month that EUTF receives a copy of your Medicare card, Social Security Administration letter, or direct deposit form, or direct deposit form. Okay, so if you turn in any one of those 3 items late, your reimbursement is going to start late. Okay, you don't want that to happen. So make sure you turn in all your forms in early. We have a Medicare checklist online. So just in case you forget everything I'm talking about, just download that Medicare checklist. It'll tell you exactly what you have to send in to us. Okay, Medicare Part D. Okay, so that's the drug component that goes along with Medicare. Okay, so as long as you have prescription drugs with EUTF and you turn in your Medicare card with us, we'll automatically turn whatever prescription drug plan you have into a Medicare Part D plan. Okay, so that it gels well with your Medicare coverage. Okay, so let's go over this slide. Medicare requires that you enroll into only one Medicare Part D plan or Medicare Advantage plan. Okay, so you can only have one. Okay, that's Medicare rules. If in the future you enroll into another Medicare Part D plan, you will be disenrolled from the EUTF's Medicare Part D plan, including the Kaiser medical plans. Okay, because Kaiser, it's bundled together, right? Medical and prescription drug. Okay, so why am I telling you this? It's because Medicare has this annual open enrollment every year. Okay, during this open enrollment, there's a lot of solicitations to sign up for different Medicare plans. Okay, if you accidentally sign up for one of these plans, it will usually come with a Medicare Part D prescription drug plan, or it's a Advantage plan, which is all-inclusive. Okay, so if you sign up for one of those plans, it actually kicks you out of the EUTF prescription drug plan or the Kaiser plan if you have that plan. Okay, it'll kick you out. Why? Because Medicare requires that you only have one. Okay, so if you sign up for another one, that means one has to be disenrolled. Okay, and it's going to disenroll you from the EUTF plan. Okay, so when you retire and Medicare open enrollment comes around, right? What do? Just cover your ears, okay? Don't sign up for all these other plans. Don't sign up for a plan because your neighbor says they got free gym membership at the YMCA now. that's not a good reason to sign up for another medical plan, okay? Our plans are very comprehensive, took a lot of time and effort to put these plans together for our members, okay? So be very careful not to sign up for other plans. It could kick you out of the EUTF prescription drug plan. Of course, if you want to try a different plan, you're more than welcome to. Just know that you will be taken out of the EUTF prescription drug plan. Okay, so keep that in mind, folks. Okay, we're almost done with Medicare here. Last one, Medicare Part D. So again, if you have HMSA and CVS, when you turn in your Medicare information into our office, we automatically upgrade your CVS coverage into SilverScript. Okay, SilverScript is a type of Medicare Part D plan. Okay, but what happens is there's this holding period. Okay, it's called an opt-hold period. It gives you about 30 to 60 days, right there on the side, approximately 45 days. Okay, it gives you to opt out. Okay, if you don't want this coverage, they'll let you opt out. Okay, during that opt-out period, a lot of our retirees get worried. Okay, they say, where's my SilverScript card? I just turned Medicare age. Aren't I supposed to be enrolled into SilverScript? Okay, so between that 45-day holding period, you actually just have regular CVS prescription drug coverage. Okay, you don't get that SilverScript until about 2 months later. Okay, so if you do have HMSA and CVS, just know that when you first turn Medicare eligible age 65, you'll still have prescription drug coverage. It's just going to be through regular CVS. Okay, and then once you get that SilverScript in the mail about 2 months later, then you can, rip up the other card, cut it in half, throw it away, and then use your SilverScript card. Okay, so don't be alarmed if you don't get SilverScript right away. It usually takes 45 days to get you enrolled. Okay, so we're done with Medicare. How are we doing on time? Okay, I gotta hurry up a little bit. Okay, premiums and contributions. This is how your health care is going to get paid for once you retire. Okay, so as active employees, we go through a collective bargaining process, right? That's when the unions negotiate with the employers on how much our splits should be. When you retire, it's determined by law. Okay, what do I mean by law? It's something called a base monthly contribution, or for short, we call it a BMC. Okay, basically what this is, it's the maximum allowable amount that your former employer can contribute towards your retiree health benefits. Okay, so you can kind of think of it like an allowance. Okay, your former employer is going to give you this much money. You use that money to pay for whatever the retiree medical premiums are at that time. Okay, it's called a base monthly contribution. So it's broken up into two categories: non-Medicare and Medicare, right, depending on your age, and then single, two-party, and family, depending on how much people you have on your plan. Okay, this base monthly contribution gets adjusted every January 1st, and it's based off of Medicare Part B increases and decreases. Well, you know what? Medicare never really decreases, so it usually always increases. Okay, so your allotment or your allowance is usually always increased every January 1st. But usually so are premiums, right? Okay, so earlier I was talking about that letter that you get from the ERS, okay, that retirement estimate letter. Okay, it has two very important things on there. It has your membership start date and your years of service. Okay, with those two things, we can calculate how much of that base monthly contribution you get. Okay, what's that base monthly contribution? It's like your allowance, right? It's what you use to pay for your retiree medical plan. Okay, so let me show you this chart here. Okay, so this is the chart we use. Okay, depending on when you started with the ERS, is how many years you have to work to get 100%. Okay, so if you started on or before June 30th of 1996, you only had to work 10 years of service, okay, that first column, to get 100% of that base monthly contribution. Okay, anyone after that date, they need 25 or more years, okay, to get 100%. There's also a cutoff. 15 years is 75%, and 10 years is 50%. Okay, in this last category or column here, if you started on or after July 1st of 2001, you only get that self-based monthly contribution. Okay, so you really only get allowance for yourself to pay for whatever the going rate is for the premiums. Okay, if you want to add your spouse, you can, but your spouse doesn't get any of that base monthly contribution. So that means you would have to pay for your spouse's premiums out of pocket if you wanted to add them. Okay, anyone that started before that date, okay, the spouse will get that base monthly contribution as well. Okay, you'll get a two-party base monthly contribution or a family base monthly contribution to help pay for their side. But anyone after that date, they don't get that. Okay, you only get the self, which only takes care of your premium amounts. Okay, I know that's kind of confusing, but I have this example for you folks. Okay, so Malia will be retiring December 1st of 2020 and does not qualify for Medicare yet. Okay, so the non-Medicare base monthly contribution, the max amount that she can get is about $1,000. Okay, but what do we have to look at? We have to look at her years of service and her membership start date to see how much of that she truly gets. Okay, so her ERS letter, her membership start date was July 1st of 1999, and her earned years of service was 20. Okay, so if you remember from the chart, she's actually a 75%er. Okay, so if we take 75% out of that 1,000 amount, it comes out to $761. Okay, now we need to know what are the going rate of the premiums and which medical plan does she want. Okay, so if she wants everything, the HMSA plan costs about $578, the prescription drug another $234, the dental's about $42, and the vision's about $5. Okay, so you add up all those premiums, it comes out to $859. Okay, so all we have to do is subtract the two. Her monthly total is $98.51. Okay, for all that coverage as a 75%. Okay, so not bad, right? When you take your folks out to dinner and a movie, right? It's a lot more than $100, right? So that's pretty good. That's a pretty good premium amount for monthly premiums for all that coverage as a 75%. Okay, so a lot of people get confused. They think if they're a 50 or 75%er, that means 50 or 75% of the premiums, right? That would be bad, right? If it was 75% out of 859, it'd be a lot more than this 80 or this $98, right? It'd be a lot higher, closer to 200. Okay, so the way the formula is set up, it works in your favor, okay, right now. And then if you can see here, her ERS membership date was 20 years, right? If she worked 5 more years, she would be 100%er, and she would get the full $1,000 amount, and it would engulf the premiums of $859, so she wouldn't pay for anything, right? If she was 100%er. No, she doesn't get to keep the extra money, but she wouldn't have to pay for premiums anymore. Okay, so that'd be great news. So the way the formula is right now, it works in your favor, but can anybody see the downfall of this formula? Okay, there is a downfall. We don't know how premiums are gonna look like 5, 10, 15 years from now. Okay, if these premiums ever exceeded what the going rate of that base monthly contribution is, even if you're a 100%er, you may have to pay something out of pocket. Okay, so I'm not trying to scare you guys. It's never happened before, but you just never know. Okay, if the premiums ever balloon and the base monthly contribution doesn't balloon as well with it, you may have to pay for premiums even though you're a 100%er. Okay, so every year we have a bunch of retirees always call our office to make sure the base monthly contribution is going up and the premiums are, slowly going up. It's not ballooning. That way everyone is okay. But again, if you guys need more information on that, you can go onto our website. Okay, so if you do have to pay a premium, we have basically 2 options. Okay, you want to take it straight from your bank account, or we can take it straight from the ERS pension. Okay, you just have to fill out the proper forms. Okay, so these are the different health plan options that we have the HMSA 9010 or the Kaiser HMO plan. Prescription drugs are the same. The dental and vision is through the same carriers, and your life insurance is through Security. Okay, so the HMSA plan is a 90-10 plan. So basically you pay 10%, okay, for most services. Some services are 20%, like diagnostic lab and x-rays, but for the most part, you're gonna just pay 10%. When you become Medicare eligible, this plan coordinates with Medicare. Okay, so Medicare becomes your primary. They usually do a 80-20 pickup, and then the rest of the bill gets dropped down to HMSA, and they usually wipe it clean. Okay, for the most part, depending on what service you get, but that's usually how it works. Okay, and then this plan works well in the mainland. It becomes Blue Cross Blue Shield. Okay, that Kaiser plan is an HMO plan, so you pay this flat rate. Okay, it's not like a 90-10 coordination, it's a flat rate. So when you go get a service, you pay $15. Okay, you go get this other service, you pay $15. Okay, it's usually a flat rate. That's usually how HMOs work. But what HMOs is, you have to go to that facility. So you would have to go to a Kaiser facility, right? This plan does not work well in the mainland. Okay, if you're visiting, right, it's fine. It works in emergency situations, but it's not going to work if you want to go get a physical in Montana. Okay, this Kaiser plan only really works in Hawaii. When you become Medicare eligible, it doesn't do that coordination, pay this bill, the rest gets dropped down. Okay, it becomes a Medicare Senior Advantage plan. Okay, so it's an all-inclusive Medicare plan. But the good thing is you don't have to worry about if your doctor accepts Medicare or not. Okay, all Kaiser doctors do. If you have the HMSA coverage, you have to make sure that your doctor accepts Medicare, right? Because Medicare pays first. So just keep that in mind. Prescription drugs, I'm not going to go through this, but it's 10, 15, 30, depending on generic or brand name. Chiropractic, there is no chiropractic benefit as a retiree. Your dental benefits is 60% for most services. Preventative services are still 100%. And then vision is the same exact benefit as the active plan. And then your life insurance is $1,800. Okay, so some differences between the active plan and the retiree plan. For active plan, the limiting age, right, is 26. For the retiree plan, it's 19, or it can extend up into age 24 if you're unmarried and a full-time student. Okay, prescription drug benefits usually gets better when you retire. You usually pay a lower copayment. And again, there's no chiropractic benefits. Dental benefits for active employees, adjunctive general services are covered at 80%. For that same service, when you retire, it's covered at 60%. Okay, what is that type of service? Fillings. Okay, if you need to get a filling, it's covered a lot more comprehensive as an active employee opposed to a retiree. Okay, and then limited orthodontic benefit for active employees. There's no orthodontic benefit for retirees. Okay, our retirees should not be getting braces anyways. Okay, so I think that's why they took that benefit out. But if you do need any type of treatment done or things done on your teeth, you want to get it as an active employee. Your benefits are a little bit more richer opposed to your retiree. And then Medicare Part B, if you're an active employee, right, there's no mandatory Medicare enrollment. But when you retire, there's that mandatory Medicare enrollment. So that means you have to enroll into Medicare if you're eligible. Okay, enrollment process. I'm going to skip through this. Everyone knows how to fill out a form, right? You put your name, date of birth, all that good stuff. Check off retirement. You leave the middle section blank, and then the bottom of the form, right? You just check off which plans you want, HMSA or Kaiser. Life insurance is free. Okay, so even though you don't want anything when you retire, always check off the life insurance. Okay, it's free. The back of the form is your dependent information, Medicare information, and other insurance information. And then you just have to read, sign, and date the bottom of the form, and make sure you turn that in within 60 days of your retirement date. Okay, and then you get a confirmation notice in the mail. So when you send it in to us, you don't have to call us. every week or so to see if we got it. We'll send you out a confirmation notice to let you know that we received it and we processed it. Okay, so let's just do a quick recap. So when you retire, we need this retirement estimate letter. Why? Because it has your years of service and your membership start date. We need that EC2 enrollment form to figure out which plans you want, HMSA or Kaiser. And then if you're Medicare eligible, we need a copy of your Medicare card, the direct deposit agreement form, and that letter from Social Security that details how much they're charging you for Medicare Part B. We also need a close of business form from your employer. Okay, for us to start on your retirement, we first have to cancel your active employee plan. Okay, so we'll need this document from your personnel. Okay, you don't send it to us, your personnel does. And then all documents must be received in order to process your retirement. Okay, so if you're missing documents, we can't process your retirement. Everything has to be in our office. And then you will receive COBRA. Don't worry about COBRA. You can just throw it away. We're obligated by federal law to send this out. Okay, it's continuation of benefits, but you don't need it, right? You're enrolling into your retiree plan. Okay, making changes. We do have qualifying events throughout the year for retirees, right? So if something good happens and you get divorced, right? Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. If something good happens and you get married, right? You can add your spouse at that time. If you lose coverage, you can gain coverage. You know, you don't have to wait for open enrollment. These are common qualifying life events where it can happen right like that. Okay, so you just have to fill out the proper documents. An interesting one we have is moving out of the service area. Okay, so if you have Kaiser and you have to move to, you know, Wisconsin, they don't have Kaiser there. Okay, so we'll let you switch into HMSA. Okay, all you have to do is fill out the enrollment form again, the EC2 form, and notify us within 45 days. Okay, so most of the events are 45 days. The only ones that aren't is retirement, which was 60, and then bless your heart, if you give birth, it's 180 days. Okay, we'll give you lots of time to figure out what you're gonna do. But other than that, it's 45 days, and we do need proof documents along with that. Okay, and then we also have open enrollment once a year. It's usually in the month of October. We just got done with this year's retiree open enrollment, and then it becomes effective January 1st of the next year. Okay, so again, this presentation, you guys can find it on our website. Click on the Learning Center and then click on the pre-retirement informational video. There's a voiceover, there's the slides, you can download it and whatnot, okay? And then we also have the retiree reference guide on our website as well. So make sure to check that out if you have more questions. But other than that, folks, thank you for tuning in today. I will take some questions. I'm going to introduce Cully. He works with EUTF. He's kind of like my partner. Me and Cully, we do these usually at least once or twice a month. But if Cully, if you have any questions that you think are important or any double questions that you see, I'll be happy to answer some for you. Okay, stop sharing. There
Okay, yeah, thanks, Marvin. Well, believe it or not too many questions. Some questions regarding Medicare enrollment, as well as there were a few questions on when the EUTF reimburses retirees Medicare Part B premium. But I'm surprised there's not a whole lot of questions. So basically, in order for you to receive your benefits, once you pass age 65 and you become eligible for Medicare, in order to receive your EUTF retirement, medical and prescription drug coverage, you need both yourself as well as any other your covered spouse or partner. As long as when you qualify for Medicare, you do need to sign up for at least Medicare Part B to receive those benefits, your HMSA, your Kaiser, and your prescription drug. But yeah, good job, Marvin. Not a whole lot of questions outside of that though, but they are coming in at the moment actually.
Okay, yeah. Just one thing about Medicare, I forgot to mention earlier. If you're an active employee, okay, so let's say you're an active employee and you turn 65, okay, what some people do is, because they're not retired yet and they don't have this mandatory requirement, is they contact Social Security and they ask if they can suspend their Medicare Part B until they retire. Okay, so if you're 65 and you're still working, you can actually suspend your Medicare Part B until you retire, as long as you have group sponsored health coverage that's as good or better than Medicare. Okay, so I don't know about other plans, but I know the EUTF plan is a group sponsored health plan that's as good or better than Medicare. Okay, so they will let you suspend it as long as you have EUTF active coverage. Okay, so that way you're not paying two premiums, right? You don't want to pay Medicare Part B premium and your EUTF active coverage if you're still working. Okay, so then you can retire. Let's say you retire at 68, you contact Social Security to turn back on your Medicare Part B, and then you get reimbursed at that time, right? You don't get reimbursed if you're an active employee. Okay, only retirees get that reimbursement. Okay, so that's another thing to think about. Make sure that you contact Social Security if you're thinking about suspending it, if you're still working, because you don't want to suspend it and you don't have the right coverage as a substitute. So always contact Social Security first. But that's what some people do. They suspend it if they're still working, and then they turn it on once they retire. Any other questions, Khalid?
Let's see. Not a whole lot. There's a question regarding ERS filing. When's the best time to file?
Okay, so the question is, what's the best time to file with the ERS? That's a very good question. You'll have to ask ERS that question. I think it's between 180 days or so. You have to at least start your application before you actually retire. But any type of question to do with ERS or your years of service or when's a good time to retire, you would want to talk directly with ERS. Okay, I don't want to speak for them. They're a different department than EUTF, so you always want to direct your questions to them if you have any of those. But a lot of people like to retire at the end of the year or the middle of the year. That's where we get the most applications for retirement health plans. But again, always double check with ERS, see what the timeline is, what you need to qualify, because you do need special things to qualify. Sometimes you can have the years of service, but you don't have the age, or you have the age or not the years of service, right? So you want to go through all that information with ERS to kind of find out what's the best time for you to retire. Yeah.
One more. We have one more question. Lauren asks, if I retire and my husband is still working, can he continue to get medical coverage through me and his workplace?
Try saying that one more time, Cully.
Okay, sorry. This is from Lorena. Her question is, if I retire and my husband is still working, can he continue to get medical coverage through me and his workplace?
Okay, that's a good question. So let's say you retire and your spouse is on your retirement plan, but can your spouse still continue to have their active coverage and your retirement plan? Okay, so that all depends, right? That depends on your spouse's coverage. Again, as long as it's not a Medicare Part D plan, right? You can have dual coverage, that's okay. But if it's a Medicare Part D plan, you can only have one or the other, right? Because you can only have one. But other than that, if it's a non-Medicare plan or a non-Medicare Part D plan, yeah, you can have dual coverage. That's fine with EUTF. You probably want to double check with his employer to make sure that dual coverage is okay. But it's okay with EUTF to have dual coverage. Again, as long as it's not Medicare related, you can have dual coverage. That's fine.
Okay, I think that's most of the questions.
Oh,
Good job, Marvin.
okay, folks. So that looks like that's most of the hard questions. I know we'll have a little bit other questions trickle in here and there. But again, thank you for the questions. Thank you, folks, for paying attention today. Again, all this information is going to be archived on the Facebook and the YouTube channels. And then we also have all this information at your disposal on our website, eutf.hawaii.gov. And then, of course, you guys can always call our customer service. We're a little bit, short staffed, just like every other department right now, but definitely send in your information or your questions. We'll be more than happy to answer it. Other than that, thank you, folks, for your time. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and please take care of yourselves.